Hello there guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel, and this is highlights of the October Doge racing series, the DRS, and this was car swapping month. Now first off, what is the Doge Racing Series, or DRS for short? Well, it is a racing series hosted by Purple Petrol 13 via his Discord server. I will leave a link to that in the description for you, and also a link to Petrol's channel where you can see his point of view of all of the races in the DRS. I only started it recently, so you may have noticed just over a month ago that I uploaded my first and currently only video on the DRS, which was in the BMW 1M, and that was the last race of September's DRS, and this video is going to be documenting highlights of October's DRS. So, in this month, there were 4 races, as there usually is, on the 4th, the 11th, the 18th and the 25th of October. I only raced 3 of them. I'll explain about that in a minute, but I'm just going to show you highlights of the 3 races that I raced in. Now, you're probably wondering what I was on about with car swapping month. Well, basically, usually in the DRS, we race the same car throughout the month for all of the races in that month. So you may have noticed that the last DRS video I did was centered around the BMW 1M. So for all of the 4 races in that month, everybody in the race was driving a stock BMW 1M. But this month, it was proposed that we should try something different and swap cars. So essentially, prior to the first race of the month, all of the participants had to build their own car to A750 class, so bang in the middle of A class, and it could be any car apart from DLC or Extreme Meta, so basically everybody had to have the ability to own it without having to pay real money for the DLC in case they were to be using it throughout the month. So if you finish first in the first race, and then you would get the car of the person that finished last, and then second would swap with second to last, and so on. So you would swap according to your finish position, but it was quite interesting because whilst you might think that the worst drivers would get the best cars, cars perform differently on different circuits. So for example, I ended up in the Toyota GR86 on the last race, as you will see. That was raced by Petrol in race 3, and it didn't do as well, but actually it won race 2, which was the race that I didn't participate in. Now, you may have noticed that while I've been doing that intro on the screen, I have been upgrading, tuning and testing my Vauxhall Corsa, which is the car that I chose for the DRS this month. Now, it was a bit of an inexplicable decision, a bit spontaneous, and that was just because I didn't really have any time to pick a car, so I created a very quick short list based on what I thought would be good for the first race, which you will see very shortly, and I whittled it down again very quickly to the Vauxhall Corsa, and probably not a very good decision in hindsight, but that's what I went with. It was basically supposed to be a mega grip tune, which is why I put slick tyres, Forza Aero, etc on it. I built a front wheel drive version first, and then I tested that, made it all wheel drive, a few other tweaks, and then tested that and decided that I preferred it, so that's the one that I actually used in the race. But to be quite honest with you, both of them were useless. But if you for whatever reason do want to use that tune, I'll put the share code in the description. I'll for both versions as well, but really just don't, unless you want to actually lose the race that you're participating in. I just wouldn't bother. Just very quickly on the livery as well, as you saw, I did create it myself. It's very basic because, as you're probably aware, I am not great at liveries at all. Usually I just download other people's liveries, but for this one I used basically the stickers created by Andrew9565 from the channel. He's done a lot of things for me. One of them I've just realised still needs to be announced, so I can't really get around to that. But he's a very talented livery creator, so I just robbed loads of his stickers, which does mean that I can't share the design. But to be fair, I did create that Shell logo on the bonnet, the Union Jack, which I did when we had the World Cup month in the festival playlist quite a while ago, and the license plate, number plate, as you saw as well. I took the one I created for Volkswagen Scirocco, took loads of the letters out, and then put the letters that I wanted for the Corsa on it. So that's just basically how I created the design. Very, very simple, but it just meant that I didn't have to race a blank car for the race. But now we're going to jump straight into the first race, because it's starting as I am speaking. So this is the Plaza circuit. We did 20 laps, which is because for a 30-minute DRS the average lap time is around 1.5 minutes, and therefore 20 laps times 1.5 gets you 30 minutes. So to be honest with you, I've only left in stuff where anything actually happened, so kind of the first few laps of each race, and then going forward anything where there was any action and close racing. So hopefully it should be a fairly snappy and interesting video for you, and hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you very shortly for my next piece of commentary. Right then, it is race 2 time, and as you will have seen there, I finished last in that race, which frankly wasn't a surprise with the state of my car and the state of my driving. I thought it was actually going quite well early on, but then it went drastically downhill. But what it did mean was, because Purple Petrol finished first in that race, I got his car for this race as per the rules of the car swapping. However, the rules were slightly twisted because I did miss race 2, which was on Dansfield Aerodrome. That is the Dansfield Aerodrome, the Top Gear track, but called Dansfield for copyright reasons. But I did miss that race because my Xbox One simply couldn't cope with the amount of props that were in that. I don't really know why, but I just had to back out of that one because it was virtually unplayable. So essentially, Petrol's car that I had earned from race 1, I then got to keep for race 3. So Petrol did have to use my Corsa for that second race, but not for this one. And as you saw there, I also started in pole position. I got quickly overtaken by Jerry in the Levante. However, this was a very, very strong car. The only complaint I would have is that the brakes were slightly shocking, but it was a very nice car to drive, and actually when you just banged down the gears to force it to slow down, it was pretty good. It didn't spin out, it was rear wheel drive, but it was very, very stable, decent grip. Overall, pretty solid car from Petrol. Just in case you hadn't picked up on it as well, this second race of the video and third race of the month was on the Arch of Mulege circuit, and because the average lap time was around the 1 minute mark for the faster cars, we did 30 laps because 30 laps for a minute each gets you 30 minutes. It was a pretty enjoyable race, had some good battles throughout, but I also ended up driving solo for quite a lot of it as well, so you will notice that I did skip quite a lot of the laps out where nothing much happened, but enjoy this one. I knew that McCann was fast. Right then, and for race 4 of the month and race 3 of this video, we are heading over to Dan the Man's Festival Edge extended layout, and I am in Dan the Man's car, the Toyota GR86 that I got from Petrol. Yeah, so Petrol was driving this car in the previous race, and now I have got it. It was another really solid build. Again, brakes were slightly interesting, however didn't really have to brake much on this race, to be perfectly honest with you, and the grip was pretty exceptional. It was able to keep up along the straights. It wasn't the fastest, but it was able to keep up pretty well, and I held kind of middle of the pack in this race, and some really good battles throughout as well. So GG to everybody again. And apologies to Nighthawk, who had to endure my Corsa with a top speed of 128 miles an hour on this track. So massive apologies, and also Super Tree, who had to do it in the Archer Mulege circuit as well. To be fair, Super Tree didn't do too bad, but Nighthawk struggled quite a lot, I think, on this one, which was fairly understandable. So apologies both. I'll try not to screw everybody over with my tune if we do this kind of thing again. But for now, I'll let you enjoy this final race, and I'll see you very shortly. Yeah, no, yeah, I did, yeah. I cocked it up a bit, to be honest. Fair play. Okay, so we are approaching the end of the video now, and I just want to say that if you've stuck with me throughout all of this, thank you very much for the support. Even if you've skipped bits of it but you've watched the vast majority, your support is greatly appreciated. Let me know what your thoughts are on this format. Do you prefer this monthly format? Would you prefer a weekly format? Would you prefer me to go back to that weekly format? Obviously I say go back to, and I'm referring to the one video that I have done in that format, but I suppose it would depend on how much content there is that's worth showing in each race. Obviously these races this month, there was only 3 out of the 4 possible races to show highlights from, and there wasn't that much from each of them that was worth showing really, but some months we might have some really action-packed races where there's lots of content that you would like to see, as opposed to quite a lot of these races this month where it was just me driving, kind of stuck in the middle of 2 other participants. But let me know what you think, and I think I've done pretty well fitting all of this in under half an hour really. Obviously I fast forwarded all of that tuning and designing of my Corsa at the start. Just for clarification, I'm not a speed cheater, although it may look like I am. Maybe that's just what speed cheaters get to play the game like. Maybe we've all got insight into what it is, but that was ×4 speed at its fastest. Some of it was 1.5 times faster, but at its fastest it was 4 times speed. So actually if you use the function in YouTube to watch it in ×0.25 speed, it should theoretically balance it out if you wanted to do that. But I managed to just kind of make it like that so that I could still fit it into the video without compromising the overall length of the video, so you could still kind of get a bit of context on my car and why it was so diabolical. But yeah, that was the reasoning behind me doing that, not that I just wanted to try and experience the game in the perspective of a speed cheater, although like I said we have been able to do that as well. And then just very quickly on next month, so if you aren't aware, there are actually 5 Saturdays in November this year, so that means that there's 5 DRS races rather than 4. So depending on your answer to my question from about a minute ago on whether you'd rather have 1 video from the month or weekly videos, you may see 1 monthly video or you may see 5 weekly videos. But what I can tell you is that we are racing the Lamborghini Huracan Sturato on dirt and cross country. Now I kind of forgot that this car was in the game, and that is because it basically released during the Horizon Realms update in April, which was when I was in kind of the main part of my break from the channel when I had my exams. So that is the reason that I kind of forgot that it was in the game. I still don't own it, so I kind of need to do that because the race is in under 24 hours, because the first one is on the 1st of November. But yeah, one way or another, by Blondie, you'll see the Sturato on the channel in the DRS. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you very soon in the next video, which will be part 2 or episode 2, whatever you want to call it, of the Horizon 6 series. I kind of focused on this video because it's a bit past its best before date, because the race is finished last Saturday on the 25th. Obviously you could also argue that the Horizon 6 series is past its best before date, but I kind of had to release one of them and I chose this one. But don't worry, Horizon 6 Part 2 will be coming very soon as it is physically possible for me, because time in a day seems to be very limited. But I am trying my hardest to get these pieces of content out, working hard in the background. Don't forget, you can find all of the share codes for my tune design, the other cars that I used in this series, and the 2 custom tracks in the description. And just before I go, one final thing, hit subscribe, because when we hit 400 there will be a giveaway announcement. I did mention that in part 1 of the Horizon 6 series, but if you missed it, go and watch that as well, but hit subscribe so that you see all the future content, including that giveaway announcement. So, I'll leave you there. Bye.